Hi everyone, welcome to this second lesson, or this second video on the body defenses lesson. This is just something. This is actually something I did with one of my classes at Orchard Park this year, and I thought I'd show you this example and the diagrams that I drew, as well as a couple of other examples that I drew diagrams for, specifically for the purpose of this video. So I just came up with some examples in the second part of this lesson. They're really very straightforward. It's just a series of questions, essentially getting students to apply their knowledge of body defenses to a few more concrete examples. So the first one is explain why you need to blow your nose when you have a cold. Really simple. And here I've done CPD in other places, which you may or may not have heard me talking about. But this idea, when we're explaining things, we're trying to link an overall cause with an overall effect. So in this case, the overall cause is the fact that you have a cold. The overall effect is when you get a cold, you need to blow your nose a lot. And what we want to be able to do is to explain these two related ideas that students will all be familiar with, even if for them, blowing your nose and having a cold are kind of the same thing. But anyway, never mind. We're going to explain this in terms of these abstract ideas, our scientific models, the big idea that we've been talking about, which is pathogens. So I thought I'd just show you how I would draw this. So the point is, first, remember, whenever we draw these diagrams, they're here, they exist to support student writing. So the first thing they need to recognize is that if you have a cold, then actually that's because the pathogen has entered the body. So already by writing that sentence, if a student could do that, they would have a pretty decent conceptual understanding of the big idea we really want them to appreciate, which is colds are not caused by things happening inside the body, imbalances or whatever. They're caused because a virus gets in. So the pathogen has entered the body, and we've shown that in this diagram here. Consequently, what I showed in this next diagram, and you can see it written here, mucus is produced to trap the pathogen, and cilia move it or wave it out of the body. As a result, well, you can show in your diagram that this pathogen, this red dot here that's trapped inside the green mucus, has now been moved right up and kind of to the nose. As a result, you're going to need to blow your nose. You're going to need to get rid of all that mucus that's being generated. So that's just a really simple example of how you can just sketch a few diagrams to support students in constructing an answer to this. And I thought I'd show you a couple of other examples for these are also actually in the slides. So the first one, explain why we're likely to cough more often when infected by a pathogen. So what I've tried to do here is again show, okay, if we're infected by a pathogen, the pathogen must have got into our body. If we zoom in on the respiratory system now, so it's a very similar example to the one before, well, what's going to happen first is that mucus starts to build up inside the lungs or in the respiratory system. And then what I'm going to do in the second diagram, I'm going to show this happening as a result, is that these cilia are going to start moving this pathogen that's been trapped within the mucus out of the body. And what I like about this sort of layout is that you can go from concrete, although that is a little bit abstract still, but you could start this with someone coughing on you or something like that, but essentially getting the idea that the pathogen is getting in. Start with concrete, move to something a bit more abstract that students can't really see, but then always come back to the concrete. So what I'm going to do here is say, and I'm just going to finish off the diagram in this video, what I'm going to do here is say, well, the mucus traps the pathogen, the cilia move it out like this. What would be the outcome? In the previous example, it was blowing our nose. The outcome here would be, well, because your respiratory system is moving all this mucus out, you're going to have to cough. And you're going to have that awful kind of greeny stuff coming up when you cough, which again, I'm sure students will be familiar with. So again, what I'm doing is showing an overall cause. In this case, that's the pathogen through in the body, and showing how that's linked in terms of these new ideas that we've introduced to the overall effect, which is coughing more often. The last one I've got is explain why some people can eat undercooked beef without getting sick. So I've drawn my rare steak here. I'm not sure I'd go into steak tartare. I'm not sure most of our students will be familiar with that. Hopefully they've seen a rare steak or a pink beef burger, something like that. And I've shown that there's a couple of pathogens in it, and I want to be explicit to them that undercooked beef is probably going to have some bacteria in, and you know that's part of decomposition and so on. So if we eat that piece of undercooked beef, then a pathogen could get into our body. But what I want to show them then is that, okay, the pathogen goes down our esophagus and ends up in our stomach. I've showed the lining of the stomach here, again, building on some of the stuff we did last year in the Human Body Part 1 scheme. And the pathogen enters this hydrochloric acid, but then it's destroyed by the acidic conditions. And again, I want to make sure that I relate this back to something concrete, so I might just put a smiley face or something like that to show that actually this person can eat it, but the body defenses are working. So here, and actually what you've seen in all the examples, there's generally something concrete related to something else that's concrete. So in this case, eating undercooked beef and not getting sick. And you want to try and explain that in terms of things that are a bit more abstract that we've just introduced, these body defenses. So in each case, in each example in the slides, you could draw similar diagrams showing how we can explain these related things or related events in terms of the body defenses that we introduced in the first part of the lesson. Hopefully that is helpful. In the next video, we'll be looking at white blood cells and the immune system.